research, and then you put your dissertation together. You have a chair that's over it, a committee for you. Then you get it all together, and then you submit it, and then it goes, and the committee reads it, decides if it's good or bad. First time I submitted mine, the format was wrong, so it got disapproved. So I had to pay these two PhD English people from Vanderbilt University to format it correctly. Then the next time it was approved, and then I became Dr. Donna. So there's coursework and research goes together. I've mentioned this, that I used Robert Northouse path goal theory for high performance teams. If you read my dissertation, it'll be good for you to go right to sleep. It's a snooze fest palooza for real, even from me, because there's a format that you have to follow. So since that time, I developed my own theory as well, because I have a doctorate now. And so what has happened is, in research, most people will take a theory that's there and then improve upon that theory. They will either disprove that theory or say, I'm using this theory and I found a different aspect of it. And so they do it in books, they do it in papers. That's why in colleges and universities, they say publish or perish. So you got to take somebody else's information and say, well, let's expound upon that. But very few people have their own theory. And I'm talking PhDs. My doctorate is an EDD, so I'm an educator. Very few people have their own. They will use other people's research, expand upon it, have graduate assistants, do all this research, write a book, but they don't have their own theory. And so since I'm me and I'm a bad mofo, I developed my own theory, based it so I could have my principles of real leadership. So I'm teaching you the information that you have today, because most of the time people teach other information and they say, well, this person said this, and this person said this, and they will have a concept or a concept of a plan, a theory, haha, and then they will present that. Usually it happens in class, so then they write a book, or they write a book and then they start teaching it, but it's not something that they live by day in and day out. So having said that, here is how the theory of personal accountability was developed. And yes, I'm going to read the entire thing. Okay, so the theory of personal accountability, how the theory of personal accountability was developed. During the summer of 1990, I was a private first class in Army basic training. I was stationed at Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina. My drill sergeant informed us that by the end of the week, we needed to be ready for drill and ceremony for the company commander. He told us that we were ATFU, which is ate the fuck up. And by the end of the week, we needed to be L7, which is squared away. So if you put an L and a 7 together, that makes a square, and that means squared away. In that moment, he called us to attention and gave the command, half right face. I was a squad leader, so I assumed that we were about to get in the front leaning rest position and do push-ups. But he gave all of the drill and ceremony commands at that half right face. By the end of the week, we were ready. Now, normally you do half right face, then you do open rank smarts. That's how you know you're going to do a smoke session. But just as soon as I heard half right, I was like, we about to get smoked. When I returned to my senior year of high school, because I went to basic training the summer of my junior year of high school and senior year of high school. So they called it the delayed entry program. You do basic training that summer, then the next summer you go into reserves, the next summer you finish AIT. So I was a PFC in the reserves while in the real Army reserves while I was a senior in high school. When I returned to my senior year of high school, I requested to command the squad for the citywide school drill competition. Because I was third in command, my JROTC instructor said yes. We practiced outside for 6 weeks every day, in the rain, the snow, the cold, and with very few sunny days. On the day of the competition, we were ready. 6 weeks later, I found out that we had won the squad competition. We placed first out of 21 high schools. This win was also a first for my CTA high school. What's the difference? That half right face we used while I was in basic training. That 45-degree angle allowed me to see things differently. I could tell if anyone's weapon was crooked, whose feet were not aligned, and it made the movements more precise. That angle took squad from personally unaccountable to personally accountable to best, one practice day at a time. The 45-degree angle of the half right face, combined with the 74 principles of real leadership, developed into the theory of personal accountability, which is personally unaccountable to personally unaccountable to personally accountable to best, equals 45 degrees plus your daily. So there is a methodology to what I am actually doing. This is not something that I'm just saying, oh, let's talk about the theory of personal accountability and where it came from. So that 45